If you're just seeing me for the first time, my name is Barrister Chineze. I am a banker, a barrister, a YouTuber, and a mom of 3. I want to urge everybody to keenly listen to what I'm going to say because it's going to benefit you, if not now, in the nearest future, in the long run. So today I'm going to be discussing about all the things you need to know before you buy a land or acquire a property in Nigeria. Even though I will be streamlining it to Nigeria, it's important I tell you guys that all I'm going to say covers a lot of areas within Africa. So it's best you take a listen. And whether you're based in Nigeria or you're in diaspora, it is important for you to listen. In fact, go take a pen and paper now and start taking notes because I'm going to be dropping very, very vital information on all you need to know before you purchase a land in Nigeria. Be rest assured that you are just at the perfect place because as a barrister who has acquired a number of properties for other people and as a landowner myself, I have both the theoretical and practical knowledge of how everything works regarding to purchasing of lands. So sit back and let's dive right into the video.
In this video, you are going to learn few important things you need to know before you invest in any property in Nigeria so that you can save yourself from troubles, especially as it regards Omonile issues and fraud. There are a lot of fraud in property sale in Nigeria, so you have to be very careful. And in becoming careful, you need to stuff yourself with knowledge about properties in Nigeria. Make sure you watch this video and implement what you are going to learn in this video so that you will have rest of mind after investing in any property in Nigeria. Let's watch the video.
So the first point you need to consider before purchasing a land or property in Nigeria is the location. Personally, I advise potential clients not to purchase lands in villages. It is better to purchase lands in town because if you go to somebody's village and purchase a land, or else you are an indigene of that village, or else you are an indigene of that town. But for you to be a foreigner and go into the interiors of somebody's village to purchase a land is usually not a very good idea. Now, there are several questions you need to ask yourself as to location when you want to buy a land. What do you need the land for? Is the area a residential area or a commercial area? Is the place where you want to build and rent out or you want to reside there? Is the environment where you want your children to be raised in? What is the proximity of that place to your place of work or your place of business? What is the road network like? We know that when there's a road network, when there are roads in an area, it develops fast, it's opened fast. What is the road network like in that area, in that vicinity? You need to ask yourself all those questions. Is it fast going from a rural area to an urban area? Because this is not like you are in the US where even in rural areas, they still have access to modern facilities and infrastructure. In Nigeria, many rural areas do not have the good hospitals, the good schools that you would want to have access to. So location is very, very important when you want to buy a property. If you're looking at a place and you're seeing that, okay, this place, by the trend that it's going in the next 4 or 5 years, by the time I'm finished building, yes, most Nigerians will buy virgin lands and build, right? Unlike abroad where the mortgage system is very well structured there. You don't need to start building your house. You just buy a house and they spread over a long period for you and you pay your mortgage. In Nigeria, we pretty much acquire virgin lands and build to our tastes. So you're asking yourself that by the time I'm done building the next 5, 6, 7 years, how would this area be? Would I want my family to live there? Location is very important because you don't want to acquire a property and every day you and armed robbers and kidnappers and all sorts of hoodlums are fighting and there's no even police station around to even come to your rescue. So you must consider location before purchasing a property. I know that properties or lands in very developed areas are usually on the very high side. So you don't really have to go for that. If you don't have the funds, you don't really have to go for that VGC, that Lekki, that's Victoria Island. But you go for a place where you'll be comfortable to live in and raise a family in. Location is very important. Number 2, your budget. Now, buying a land comes with a lot more expenses than just paying for the land. When you purchase a land, you have to pay the agency fee. If it was an agent that introduced that land to you, you have to pay the legal fee, you have to pay the survey plans, and so many other fees, local government fees, you have to pay urban and rural planning fees if you want to start building immediately, and so many other informal expenses that you're going to make. There's the Omonile expense. Omonile, the owners of the land. Nigeria has this culture where if you buy a land, you have to pay homage, something like a settlement, to the original descendants, the original owners of that land. That is the practice, and you must give consideration to that. So if your budget for purchasing a land is 4 million naira, you cannot expect to pour in the whole 4 million in paying for the land, because you don't want to put yourself in a situation whereby after paying the land, you now become completely financially bankrupt. You don't even have any money to pay for the other expenses. You don't have any money to secure the land, to fence the land. You don't even have any money to feed and sustain yourself. You now drive yourself to debt that at the end of the day, you have to sell the land to resuscitate your finances. You don't have to put yourself in that situation. So as I said earlier, if you're budgeting 4 million naira for a land, you have to go for a land of about 2.5 million and have 1.5 million in reserve for other expenses that comes with purchasing a land. The third step in land purchase is land search and verification. Now, this comes in two angles. The first is the progressive or modern way of search, and the traditional stroke conventional way of search. Both of them are very, very important. Now, I always tell my clients and potential clients that do not let a good land, a cheap land, seduce or entice you into compromising on due diligence. That land cheap, make that land no put you for trouble. You must conduct your due diligence on that land. And when I say due diligence, I mean, is the person who wants to sell the land the original owner? Is he the rightful owner? Does he have a right to dispose of that land? Is the land encumbered? When I say encumbered, meaning has it been used as a security for a loan? Yes, you can go to the bank and take a bank loan and use your land as a security, as collateral. Is that land a collateral? Is it subject to any family disputes? First wife didn't give birth to a son, concubine had 3 sons. 2 families are fighting. You go in and buy that land, you have bought yourself trouble. Is it subject to litigation? Meaning, is that land in courts? There are so many sneaky people who will have their land a subject of litigation. The matter is still in court, and they will run and sell the land to an unsuspecting third party and put the person in the middle of the devil and the deep blue sea. And you can never have peace. So you have to conduct your search. I would advise you to employ the services of a lawyer. Do not say because you want to cut things cheap, you compromise your whole peace. That money that you are avoiding to spend, you will spend it in triple folds when trouble arises from that land. Employ the services of a lawyer that would go to the land registry and run a search on that land, that would go to the CAC and run a search on that land. You should also do a proper site-to-site visitation by yourself. You don't need to contact a lawyer for that one. That's the traditional way of search. Now, I advise anybody that wants to purchase a property to just disguise as an ordinary person and go to that area and ask questions about that land. Buying a land is like marrying a wife. If you get it wrong, you are in for a lifetime of trouble. And just as the Igbos, where I come from, go for what we call the Ijuajuju to ask questions when they want to marry a woman, you need to go for your Ijuajuju too when you want to purchase a land. Go into the community, ask about the seller, ask about his family, ask about his attitude, ask about what he's known for. Is he a notorious and known troublemaker? Is he a hater of foreigners? There are some indigenes that feel that a foreigner does not have a right to own a land in their hometown, but they will go ahead and sell that land and still feel entitled to that land and will not give you peace to enjoy that land. There's so many people like that. Just ask, go speak the local dialect, the local vernacular. Ask them if are people fighting over that land. You see a land not for sale, you go and purchase it, that's trouble. So yes guys, you have to check out the person who is selling the property to you, his family background, his behavioral history, and all the rest of that, because there's some people who are very notorious for selling one piece of land to more than 10 different people. The fifth point that you have to take note of and check appropriately before you buy a land in Nigeria is the payments and documentation. Now, you agree with me that the only language that the court understands is evidence and documentation. So the first rule to payments and documentation is thou shalt not pay in cash. If you want to make payments for your land, you should either do it through a wire transfer or through an in-bank fund transfer or through a mobile app, something that has documentation, something that you can refer to in the event of a problem. When it comes to land and buying of property, there is nothing like over documentation. every documentation is allowed. There is nothing like you are being melodramatic or you are being too careful. There is nothing like being too careful. Every suspicion is okay, because trust me, land issues have turned brothers to enemies, have turned sisters to enemies, have turned husband and wife to cat and rat. So you have to act as if you're buying that land from an enemy. You could even go a step further to ask a lawyer to draft what we call a purchase receipt, where the buyer and the seller would sign. Because if you just depend on the transfer evidence, the seller in future can claim that that was payment for another thing entirely, not for the land. So you can ask a lawyer to draft a specific purchase receipt evidencing that this so land was sold from this person to this, was acquired from this person to that person on the date you said the amount. There's a receipt that lawyers draw for that purpose. It's still okay. So after making payments and ensuring that that payment is completely documented, the next step is to ensure full registration of that land. And how do you ensure full registration? By ensuring that all previous documents that showed the previous owner of the land as the owner changes to show you as the new owner. There are several importance for that, but one of the major reasons why it is important for ownership to change on documentation is if the previous owner is an unscrupulous person or a deceitful person, he or she can still pose to be the owner of that land and attempt to sell the land and sell the land to a third party. And when that other person runs a search on that land, that other person will still see the previous owner's name as the owner in the land registry. So if that land has already been registered, ensure that you change ownership to reflect the new owner, which is you. The next step, which goes hand in hand with registration, is to request the original title documents. We Nigerians are very ignorant as to the details of land purchase, and if you are enjoying this update and if you find this update very useful, please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up already and drop your comments. Now when title to a land has passed, it is very important for you to retrieve all the original documents from the former owner, such as the original deed of assignment, the survey plan, the C of O, and all of that. Ensure that the former owner does not have custody of the original documents, because whoever has custody of the original documents can still pass a valid title of that land to another person. In fact, this should even come before making payments. When you want to conduct your search, you can ask for the photocopied, or you can make copies of the documents to run your search at the land registry, okay? But as soon as you have reached a resolve to make payment for that land, ensure that at the point of payment, the original documents are handed over to you, or your proxy or lawyer if you are not in the country, if you're in diaspora. Do not ignore any single detail. Buying your property and not having custody of the original documents is like going to university or going to college and not having a degree. That degree is your proof that you went to college. Okay, you can't go for a job interview and say, I went to college, ask this person, that person knows. No, where is your certificate? That is proof that you actually attended college. So is land purchase. Those original title documents are the only proof that you are the real owner of that land. Do not make payment if the former owner is telling you that, oh, the documents are not here, they are here. Don't worry, just pay, I'll bring it for you later. I kept it somewhere. Please, that is a red flag. Do not make payments until you can possess original title documents. After making payments and after getting custody of the original title documents, the next step, very important step in the purchase of land, is securing and monitoring. After purchasing a property, it is a big mistake to leave your property unsecured, because if you do, you make that property susceptible to intruders and other claims. Okay, so that's why I mentioned earlier that when you're budgeting purchasing a land, you have to place in the budget the cost of fencing that land. You need to fence that land. In fact, if your finances will allow you, fence it with a high big fence and a big gate, like the gate of Mount Zion that can never be broken. Padlock the gates. And that is not even enough. Do not stop at that. Ensure that there is constant monitoring of that property. I have seen a lot that happens with lands. trust me, getting into a land dispute is not something you want to get into, because even if you have all the documents, all your documents will not save you when a land saga starts. Don't forget that we're still battling with the legal system in Nigeria. It's not as, it's not like it should be. We could still have cases in the courts that could span for 15, 20 years, going from the magistrate court to the high court to the court of appeal to the Supreme Court, and time is wasted. And when there's a land in dispute, the court puts an injunction on that land, meaning nobody will be able to develop that land or do anything on that land until judgment is gotten. So you end up wasting your entire years fighting for a land in the court. So it's better for you to avoid all these hassles that may come up by being on your toes. If you're not in the country, I implore you to hire the services of either a relation or an estate management company that will be keeping an eye on that property, constantly visiting that property. Once every month, you could just drive there, clear the grass, you look around, you register your presence. Do not just buy a property and leave it there, fallow, without putting an eye on it. That land could still be taken from you even with your documents. And you know that when it comes to land and land tussles, there are a lot of things that go on. Even diabolical means are employed. Even fetish and diabolical means are employed when it comes to land disputes. So it's always better to be safe than sorry. Securing your property by fencing it and locking it up and constantly visiting that place to ensure that it hasn't been encroached on, writing on the fence, this land is not for sale, caveat emptor, and every other means you think is necessary to ensure that there is no encroachment on your land is totally allowed. Don't forget, Nigeria is a peculiar country, and wisdom is all about applying yourself to the peculiarities of your environment. You cannot sit on your high horse and say, in the UK, when I buy land, in the US, you have to be aware of your environment. Assassination could happen because of land. Anything could happen. So you must ensure that all these things I said, all these things I mentioned are strictly adhered to. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you really enjoyed this video. I hope it has impacted on you, and I hope that you went home with something. If you think that this video is useful and it will benefit other people, do well to share to as many people as you think would benefit. Download the video, share to your Facebook group, your WhatsApp group, your YouTube community, as many people as you think would benefit from this content. If you have further questions as to purchasing of lands or properties in Nigeria, do drop in the comment section, and God willing, I'll be available to attend to them. Don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up. That's the best you can do for me for this beautiful content that I have brought your way free of charge. And subscribe if you haven't. It's me, your girl, Barrister Neze.
Now let's quickly go over what we have learned from this video today. The first thing you have to consider when buying a property, whether it is a land or it is an already built house, you need to consider location. Now, one of the things she said was, you don't want to buy a property in a village, because most people buy property in a village and then armed robbers will be visiting them every day, or kidnappers will be kidnapping them every day. So what I would say in that regard is, it depends on the purpose of the property. If it is for investment, you can buy in the village. But if it is for residents, you want to reside in that particular property, then it is not advisable you buy in the village. Okay, so what I will advise you is, if you are investing, you can buy it anywhere, whether it is in the village. Later you can resell it to whoever that is interested in buying it. But if it is for your own residential house, use the money you gotten from that investment and go and purchase a land that is in place that is a bit developed, so that you will not be a customer to armed robbers. Okay, that is one. Then number two is your budget. You don't need to have a budget of, let's say, 8 million naira, and then the land is 8 million naira. You spend everything on the land, because there are so many things you still need to do. You still need to do the fencing, you pay for documentation, you have to pay for the security of that land. There are so many things that come along with it. What of agency fee? So you need to have enough budget that will be able to cover your expenditure after the payment for the land. All right. Then the third thing she said was land search and verification. You need to do your due diligence. Don't buy a land because it is cheap. That is what have gotten a lot of people into trouble. Make sure you have done your due diligence, and to be safer for you, ensure you employ the service of a property lawyer. This will save you a lot of trouble. Some people want to cut corner, they want to cut costs. When it comes to property, to be economical is trouble. So make sure you employ the service of a property lawyer. This will save you, because that property lawyer will go and do the search for you. They know what to do. Okay. And that money that you want to avoid, you don't want to spend. Some people don't want to. They say, why will I spend? Why will I pay a lawyer when I can? That person got his own. That person got his own without involving a lawyer. You don't know what can happen in future. So to save yourself of the trouble that may come in future, ensure you do the right thing now. And that is one of those things, is to involve the service of a property lawyer. You need to visit the site and do the search by yourself. She call it ijuaju. You need to go there and do it by yourself. Disguise yourself and pretend as if you are an indigenous of that place, and go around, make some research about that land. By that, you will discover some things about the land. Okay. And when you discover a red flag, is for you to back out. All right. Then the fifth thing she said was payment and documentation. When you are paying for land, don't pay cash. Pay with the method that is easily traceable. Have a receipt for your payment and keep it secure in case you may need it later. Then the last thing is securing and monitoring your land. You need to secure your land. You need to make fence around it. And apart from making fence around it, if you are not there, make sure somebody is there watching over your land. And even though somebody is there watching over it, once in a while, visit that place. Register your presence there. Okay? Because if you are not coming regularly, before you know it, some other people will take over. And you may end up in the court. And land dispute is not what you want to get into, because it is trouble. They will end up wasting your time, and you will not be able to get the dividends of your investment. Why are you investing in the property in the first place? It's for you to make money. But by the time you get into land disputes, they will waste your time, waste your money. So it's not something that you want to involve yourself in. So make sure by all means you don't get into land dispute. And how do you do that? Don't jump, don't skip all these steps that we have just mentioned. Now, I will advise, if you want to buy a land, you may not be able to do all these things yourself. Talking about getting a property lawyer, going for the research, securing your land, documentation, all these may be tedious for you. But there are companies that have undertaken to do all this. They have already gotten the land, they have done the verification, the documentation, everything is done for you. So all you need to do is to just shop for the land, and you get the land. And as you get the land, the Omonile issue is out of the way. Fraud issue is out of the way. Anytime you want to develop the land is there waiting for you. So it makes it very easy to acquire a land now wherever you are in Nigeria. It makes it very easy to acquire the land. So if you want to know more about buying a land in Nigeria, I will leave my contact in the description of this video. You also see my contact on this screen. Make sure you contact me so that I will show you where you can get that land easier. And the good part is that you can get it at your own budget. There are some that are cheap. There are some that are already in a developed area. So there are variety of land that this company have. So it's a matter of choosing the one that your budget and your interests matches with. Okay, so ensure you contact me on that number on WhatsApp, and I will guide you more on how you can get a good property of your choice. All right, see you in my next video. Bye.